Hey everybody, welcome back to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. It is a midweek practice report. It is brought to you by Byers Auto. As you can see, Ohio State invited a bunch of birds out here to get ready for the Ducks on Saturday. Huge matchup in the horseshoe back there. That's Spencer Holbrook, Tim May, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward.
Webbed feet or webbed feet?
I don't know. I didn't get a good look at them, but I know that they're not talented enough to stop the Buckeyes. I don't know if Oregon will be either.
Good point.
End of practice report.
Excellent lead, and this has been brought to you by Byers Auto. We'll see you next time at LettermenRow.com.
Luke Whippler.
Okay, so yeah, midweek press conference, 5 or 6 Buckeyes talking about this matchup. I think the main event for this one, at least for me, would be Luke Whippler. No definitive word on the day-to-day status of Harry Miller. I thought Luke Whippler handled himself. He talked about grading out as a champion and well, and that his first start in the rain on the road, all those things that we've said over and over about that first time start for a bunch of first-time guys. I thought Luke Whippler did enough to keep that job either way, or at least enough that Ohio State would be confident enough if we had to play against Oregon. You know, I think that's probably, if you have to stand here right now, you think that would probably be the expectation.
It seems like you should be penciling in Luke Whippler as the starter at center this coming weekend for Ohio State. We didn't see Harry Miller out here with the team, so I don't, we can take that whatever you want it to be, I guess. But yeah, I mean, this is an offensive line that needs time to gel. They need to get cohesive. This is a big test against Oregon. They do have some very athletic people on their defense, and you want to have some consistency from week 1 to week 2. So it may not be the starting lineup we envisioned at the start of camp, but
definitely is
right.
not.
But it is the starting lineup we looked at last Thursday, and that's what's the important thing for Ohio State.
All I know is Oregon's got that video from the Minnesota game. That's the vision they've got, and that was a pretty good vision.
That was a terrifying, powerful offense, and those 5 guys up front certainly handled themselves well. You saw Paris Johnson driving guys to the sideline. It looked like his high school highlight film. DeJuan Jones, I think, was the one, as we talked about throughout August 10, that you didn't know for sure. Ohio State, the coaching staff obviously saw it, and they used that throughout camp. That was the plan that they wanted to use. He played fantastic, and then you had 2 basically All-Americans on the other side of the line. And I don't care if Kayvon Thibodeaux plays or not. I think Ohio State's offensive line will probably, to borrow a Tim May expression, hold sway in this one.
But I tell you what, I was looking forward to seeing Thibodeaux, and he still may play because the anticipation is much like when Buffalo came in with Khalil Mack.
Sure.
And he made a play right off the bat that I guarantee you Braxton Miller remembers.
And Taylor Deckers does too.
Exactly. So you always want to see those great players show up because that's your only shot at seeing them live. But this offensive line came out of that game last Thursday night at Minnesota with great confidence, and it was merited. Like I said, when Mayan Williams does his Usain Bolt impression, the first, second, or third play of the game, and everybody keeps talking about he went the wrong way. He went kind of outside instead of inside. Basically is what we're talking about.
It wasn't a right when it was supposed to be.
No, exactly. But the bottom line was, and then you saw what Trevion Henderson brought to the fore, and he's only just getting started. But you just watched that, like you said, Austin. You're watching it like I was during the game. There was some road grading going on up front, and so this is an offensive line that's just champing at the bit to play again.
The way this offensive line was able to pass guys off and get to the next level, I love watching offensive line. That's one of my favorite things about football. They would start as a double team. They would get to the linebackers. You don't see that very often in the first game. You don't see that very often from some guys that haven't played before. And the way that Paris Johnson was passing guys off to Luke Whippler, the way that Thayer Munford was able to get there as a guard we've only seen him as a tackle. This offensive line's only going to get better. And I might be crazy, but I think the ceiling of this offensive line is higher with Luke
Is it a
Whippler.
Joe Moore award-winning offensive line?
I think it is.
Really? He was trying so hard not to
he didn't want to
say
bring it up. But I think you're right. I mean, the
How
ceiling,
about that committee? Go ahead.
You look at this line, and I think the one question we had heading into the season, knowing that DeJuan Jones was likely going to be the guy at right tackle, the question we had was how will he fare against a player like Kayvon Thibodeaux? And I think we saw it out here on that one Wednesday morning when we got to see a full scrimmage-ish practice, and we're like, okay, well, there's some question marks. But if you're only getting a 70% Kayvon Thibodeaux, I'll take my chances with DeJuan Jones against him in that setup. I don't know if that's where he's at or what, but I mean, the day-to-day prognosis, that kid's gonna play. You're not missing this game if you're Kayvon Thibodeaux. It is his moneymaker of moneymakers. I mean, aside from NFTs and all of the other name, image, and likeness and all that, but this is the chance for him to show that he belongs in the conversation as the next type of Chase Young sort of edge rusher.
Yeah, but if you're already projected, maybe the number 1 pick in the draft,
he should sit out for this game and the rest of the season and next season.
Yeah.
You're right.
I'm just throwing that out there. Just throwing it out there. Yeah.
The other guy who's next in line, if we're going to say a next potential Chase Young, the next J.K. Dobbins appears to be Travion Henderson. We talked tonight about his debut. Talked to somebody who's intimately involved in the game planning. This is a little just inside nugget there, Berm.
Inside baseball.
Guarantees that more than 3 touches for Travion Henderson in this game on Saturday.
I think that that's probably a good idea. We saw with
I've learned to never doubt Nina Day. Go ahead.
with Travion Henderson, we saw the first carry he had against Minnesota was a 10-yard burst that you're like, wow, that kid was going to take that for a touchdown. And then his third touch was a 72-yard touchdown. And then you start to wonder, can he just score on every single play? And I think he actually could score on every play.
Well, that would be bold.
But I don't think he's going to. But I definitely think that you are going to see a heavy dose of Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson as Ohio State looks to get physical with Oregon and take some of the pressure off of C.J. Stroud so that you don't have a little bit of what we had in the first half a week ago, which is where you might get a quarterback pressing. Ohio State last week intentionally seemed to say, CJ, go ahead and run with it. And this week I think they're going to do the opposite and say, let's take the pressure off of him and put it on that massive offensive line.
Travion, if he exudes more besides talent, if he exudes anything else, it's humility. It's amazing how humble this young man is. And anybody can see what's coming. I mean, barring injury, et cetera. And I think a lot of things became obvious to everybody, like we talked about on my podcast this week. The best thing for the coaches, the players, even the fans to see is see it right out there in front of you. This is what it's all about. And Travion Henderson is definitely in the plans. How could he not be?
The Travion Henderson run, catch and run, reminded me of what J.K. Dobbins did just carrying the ball against Clemson in that Fiesta Bowl. And the more I watch it, it's really weird because I see that burst of speed and him be able to split those defenders like that, and it's like, that's a little bit of Paris Campbell there, but he's bigger and stronger and more physical as a running back. And you just think if he's J.K. Dobbins with the burst that we used to see from Paris in the open field like that, he could score on every play. And I don't want to be hyperbolic, but this guy has a chance to be as special as they come at Ohio State.
Sounds hyperbolic to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to take it further because I think that physically he reminds me of Ezekiel Elliott, and the speed part and the burst that Spencer's talking about looks like JK, and I didn't think it would be possible to mash them together the same way that I talked about Justin Fields being a little bit of Braxton, a little bit of JT Barrett, a little bit of Dwayne Haskins, and that turned out to be the case. As Berm can attest with his knowledge of that recruiting rankings and what he saw from Travion Henderson in high school, maybe it's not a huge surprise, but still to see somebody take it to the field and do it at this level. Now it's one game and that was 3 touches, but man, I think he elevated even what most rational people expected.
Well, he hadn't played in 2 years. So
and this is his opportunity to prove that it's not just a 3-touch, magic show against Minnesota. He's going to come out against the Pac-12's best team, and he's going to get an opportunity to step up. And I've talked about it over and over, probably too much. When Ohio State wins national championships, it's because they have a running back that gets them to the next level, and Travion Henderson is that type of player. It's about finding consistency and making sure that he's in that rotation. I love Mayan Williams. I think he's a big part of this offense all year long. But I think to get to the next level, to get to the next step, to get to the next, to beat Alabama, you're going to need a player like Travion Henderson with that sort of upside. And really, in this building right now, it's all about chasing Alabama. It needs to be, because there is a huge gap between these two programs and pretty much everyone else. And you have to have players like that to beat Alabama.
And following up on building what you just said, you've got an offensive line that has the ability, it looks like, to get the running back to the next level. Then he can do his thing. And Travion, I've told you, the one word that stuck with me since the first time I saw him run the ball is wiggle. He's got that little bitty move. No matter when it comes, it just freezes a guy. And if you were watching on Thursday night before he went out of the game, Mohamed Ibrahim has the same little move. That can make huge differences. But Mayan Williams, man, when he goes, I forgot how long the run was. 70, yeah. But that's crazy what it does.
Yard per second.
Yeah, but it's crazy what it does, not just for you and your offense and your running game, but for the team preparing for you.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm kidding. It wasn't a yard per second, clearly.
Tim compared him to Usain Bolt, and you're saying he ran a yard per second.
Didn't compare him. I said he looked like
Usain
I'm
Bolt.
saying that there is
Usain Bolt look-alike.
You don't think that was
a young
athletic touchdown?
like 12-year-old Usain Bolt.
I'm saying quite simply that the Buckeyes are going to be their best when they have the combination of Mayan Williams and that power and the shorter distance running game that he's going to provide. And he's got a little bit of wiggle in him too.
Oh, yeah.
But Travion Henderson, Spencer, has the ability to hit a home run on every single play.
Yeah, that's kind of undeniable now because we saw him take a screen pass where there were, I had a screenshot on my computer where there were 4 Minnesota guys around him.
You had a screenshot of a screen pass?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And I wanted to caption and just say Travion Henderson scored on this play because it was kind of, nobody else would have scored on that play. Nobody hits a hole the way he does in the open field like that. But then you look at what Mayan Williams can do and you think, okay, they both bring little wrinkles to this offense that maybe the other doesn't. And so when you put those two together, not on the field together, but just in the same offense, and then you talk about the wide receiver weapons, it's almost scary to think
They averaged
what this offense
over 10 yards a play in their first outing, Ohio State did,
in the rain.
offensively.
0.94
And it
points
would have
per
been more
play.
than that if it hadn't been
that
for the
good?
run out the clock series at the end. A point a minute, basically, but that includes Haskell Garrett.
But that's also in the rain, on the road, with a first-time starting quarterback who threw an interception and only completed 5 passes in the second half.
And came from behind to do it.
So Ohio State can play a lot better in week 2 against Oregon. I think these birds
They're
better-
bemoaning it.
These birds better tell their cousins that there might be some trouble in that big building back
Do
there.
they talk the same
behind
language?
us.
I've always wondered that.
I don't know.
Geese and
I'm
ducks.
not sure that we all talk the same language sometimes, but that's what makes for a fun practice report. That's brought to you by Byers Auto. Midweek, it's close. Saturday noon. Be there. Full coverage at Lettermen Row. Spencer Holbrook, Tim May, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. Stay with us at LettermenRow.com for full coverage of the Ohio State Buckeyes all season long.